Hey everyone, I'm out in the studio again, working on a little bit more throwing before winter actually sets in and it gets so cold out here that I can't even be out here. I do have a heater running, but it's still kind of cold in the garage. If you can tell, I've got the hat, I've got the overalls, I've got a couple different layers on, just trying to stay warm, trying to get a few more things done. Tonight, what I thought I would be working on, making some, I guess you'd call them tumblers. Uh, Whether you want to drink a little bourbon out of them or whatever your beverage of choice is, making some tumblers. I'm doing something called throwing off the hump, where I have a large supply of clay on the wheel and just use the very top of that hump of clay on the wheel to make a little tumbler. I cut that off and then grab some more clay right on the top. And I'll get into that in a minute, but I want to show you what we've done and sort of what I'm working on. Right, so here, if you can see, here are some that I've already thrown tonight, if I can get that correct. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them so far. Just little tumblers thrown like that on the wheel, real simple, real loose. Make them a little sort of wobbly and wiggly on the side. Just kind of fun to do. After they're going to be dried for a day or two, then what I do, so this is one that's already been fired. After they dry for a day or two, I turn them over on the wheel. Oops, got a little clay on that one. I turn them over on the wheel, carve the bottom or trim the bottom round, put my stamp, my little H stamp on there, and then this is sort of how they work. They'll sit, they'll wobble, they'll hold your beverage just fine, and they're really sort of fun to use and so on. Here's a couple of them, smaller ones I made last year. So these are made out of porcelain. You can see you've got my little stamp on the bottom, little H again, and kind of the rounded bottom. This one's blue and a little bit of a blue and a green kind of a color. This one happens to just be all of that blue color, but just a nice size. You know, fit an ice cube, fit a little bit of a drink in there. They're kind of nice and they're fun. They're fun to use. So I'm going to move the camera back over here by the wheel, and I'll kind of show you how we do these. So hopefully I can do this without being too awkward here. There. So I think. All right. So I think you can see. So here's a bunch of clay. This was a larger chunk of clay, a larger hump of clay. I've already made those 10 out of this supply, so I might be able to get another 10 out of here. So basically, all of this clay, I'm just going to center and just worry about that sort of top handful of clay. Going to get that going again. Going to kind of get that pulled up. So basically, I'm not going to worry about anything from about here down anymore. I'm just going to make a little tumbler out of this top part of the clay. So I'm going to sort of use my hands and kind of cup under it, and see we've got a little bit of a separation here. So it's almost like I've got just an independent little chunk of clay up here on the top. Put my thumbs down inside of it. So now I've got a little hole on the inside. Get a little water in there to make it a little slipperier. I can pull that out wider. So now we have a really shallow disc there. I can then start pulling it up. So now we're starting to get that tumbler size and shape that I want. And I'm really not being terribly precise with these. There's no size I need to make them other than, you know, approximately the same size. If I needed to, I could be measuring them. I could be measuring the height. I could be measuring the width. There's different tools I could sort of set up to measure to make sure they're all very, very equal. But I kind of like making them all a little bit varied, sort of what seems about right. So this is just a little bit, one more pull here, just kind of evening it out. Get any water out from the inside that happens to be in there. Now I just take my little metal rib, I'm just going to smooth out the outside a little bit. I smooth out the outside and set the final shape. And then I can decide if I want to keep it fairly even, or if I want to do something. We'll do a little something. So I just kind of have a little fun, kind of push out from the inside, push in from the outside. That's kind of fun. It makes it a little bit different. It kind of gives you a little spot to maybe hold on to a little bit when you're going to be drinking out of it. Now I've just got a little piece of chamois, a little piece of leather here that I use as a final step just to smooth out the lip of the little tumbler. Certainly don't want anything sharp, you know, going up against your face when you're going to try to drink anything. All right, now to get it off of the hump of clay, get a little wooden tool here, just a little tool. I'm going to cut underneath the mug a little bit, or underneath the tumbler just a little bit, to make a little bit of a groove underneath there. And then once that's set, I just have a string that I kind of wrap around there, let the wheel wind around, and just pull. And that string just basically cuts out underneath, and I can then pick that right up off the hump, like this, and set that down onto the board, and then I can quickly run through and make another one. So we can just keep going just like that until we've made as many as we feel like making. All right, I thought I'd give you a quick, I guess, added video. Here's one of the tumblers we made. As you can see, the bottom is flat, it's really rough, and what we're going to be doing is trimming the bottoms of those so that, so this one isn't trimmed yet. We're going to be trimming them like this. So this one is trimmed, and it's nice and round because we want those to kind of wobble on the bottom. I made a little cardboard template that helps me sort of figure out the right curve for the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the tumbler upside down on the wheel head. We're going to try to get this part of it recentered. Sometimes we can just kind of tap it into place. We're trying to get that part right there centered. And once we have that centered upside down, we just take our little clay, little extra clay here, and we just sort of press that down into the wheel head and against the tumbler, and that basically just helps hold it in place on the wheel head. Then we have tools like this, just a metal loop, a little metal loop trimming tool, and we're going to trim the bottom of this. So we're going to get the wheel spinning. Just going to use this trimming tool. I think you can see that. These little trimmings are coming off of there. So we're going to kind of get down a little bit, clean up that bottom. Put a rounded bevel on it. Once we think we have it about where we want it, we'll just use our little guide, our little gauge on here. That looks about right. I think I could take it, make the curve a little bit higher, so we'll take a little bit more off the edges, I think. And once we have the right curve, we're just going to take again back to our metal rib and really going to smooth that out. The bottom here is going to be touching a table, a countertop, a bar top, whatever it is. We want that to be really, really nice and smooth on the bottom. And that's that. So we went from a real rough bottom like this. Now we have a nice, smooth, tumbling curve on the bottom that probably matches pretty closely with our template here. And the last thing we do, I made this little thing, just a little bit of a clay dome. And last thing we do is we put this on there, press it down just a little bit, and what that'll do, I guess I don't know what this would be called. I think I just refer to it as a rounder. If the shape of the opening on the tumbler isn't round, just kind of press it down on here, and it should round that back out or get it fairly close to round again. Here's a good example. This one I must have dinged this one pretty good, so you have a little bit of a flat spot right here. If we hit that on the rounder, it should. Pretty much anyway, go back to round. So that's kind of how we trim the bottom of these tumblers. Do one more here. And the same general procedure. Try to get that roughly in the center. good enough. We'll put our clay down on the wheel head, hold it into place. Grab our metal loop tool. Pretty good there. Little cardboard template. Pull it off the wheel. Hit that down onto the rounder. And that one is done as well. A nice little rounded, fun rounded bottom tumbler. So we have, let's see, we've done 3 of those. We have 17 more to go. It should go pretty quick. But that's kind of how we trim the rounded bottom on a tumbler. Thanks.